Welcome to another episode of Oversharing with Shameless Elle. Today on the podcast, I'm really nervous, super nervous, because this guest has been somebody I have looked up to for a very long time. He is a major TikToker. He's a stand-up comedian. He's appeared on Just for Laughs, Comedy Network, Crave TV. He's living in NYC, but is originally from British Columbia, and he is the only response I have to "if a man did that, he'd be canceled," which is the comment I get all the time, and it's Che Durena. Welcome. Welcome to the show. How's it going, Che?
Things are good. Yeah, no, everything's going pretty good right now. Been busy in the States for almost a year now. All the pieces are starting to come together.
Are you in New York right now?
Yeah, I'm in New York. I've been in New York since July of last year. I got here on July 16th, and then I was like apartment hunting for 2 weeks, moved to my place August 1st, and then I was immediately on the road. Like August 3rd was my first road date, and I've kind of been on the road every 2 weeks since then.
How often are you traveling, like throughout the year?
Usually like every 2 weeks I'll be going somewhere new. The last couple weeks was a lot. I was like on the road every week for 3 weeks straight. And then my last week, I spent the whole week in Austin, just out there doing shows, bounce around as much as possible because there's like a growing comedy scene in Austin. So I was doing that for a little while, but that was like the whole goal ever since I started doing stand-up. Like it's been like 10 years now. So I started doing stand-up like 10 years ago, and then only started doing like online content and stuff so I could get more people to come out to the shows. This has been like the focus the entire time. So even though it is a lot of traveling and I'm getting tired at times, it's nice that it's all coming together.
Nice. So when you go to a show, are you usually gone for like 2-3 days, or is it more?
Yeah, usually, it's usually a day of travel, usually like flying the same day. So it'll be like you get in on the Friday or the Thursday. Then you'll do like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You do like 5 shows, and then you fly out on the Monday or the Sunday after. That's typically what the weekend looks like. And it's usually usually pretty good. That flying the same day sometimes is like a little exhausting, but when you're on stage and like everything's going, you're like in the zone and you're like ready to perform.
So with everything that you've got going on, because you've got like Twitch that you do in gaming, I really don't know much about that part of it. I'm not a gamer, but you got Twitch. I know you do that. And then you've got stand up and you're doing TikTok and Instagram. Are you managing this all by yourself, or do you have other people to do, like post these videos for you and do your content creation?
So anything on like my main feeds, like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, that's all. I take care of all of that. For my stand-up clips, I have someone who edits my stand-up clips. So I will like timestamp where I want in the video, the stuff edited. I'll send it to them. They'll do some stuff. They'll send me a rough copy, and then we'll go back and forth on it a little bit. For my gaming clips, same thing. So the gaming clips, I work with the guy who I stream with, Cameron. He edits some of the clips. We also have another guy who edits clips. And then I have someone who manages my YouTube. So my gaming YouTube and my stand-up YouTube, who takes care of the posting, thumbnailing, all that kind of stuff. So I have someone who has like taken on the task of YouTube for me to help grow that, which is going to be like, we're really trying to buckle down and make that a main focus of growing that platform. Twitch is still all managed by us. But I have started to bring in like a few different people to help get the ball rolling on everything. Because the more and more you expand, the more and more you need to start to fill these slots with different people, because it becomes like so much work.
Has it gotten to a point where it's like out of control for you, or you're just like overwhelmed with content creation and writing for stand up and traveling? And
I think it got to a point where, I needed to scale down a little bit. Like I think I took on too many projects at once, and I had too many things going simultaneously. And that, like, you kind of want to start something, get it to the point where it's self-sufficient, get to the point where like your YouTube is getting a certain amount of views, and it can basically almost run on autopilot. Like you have the person who's editing, they know how to edit for you. You know what style they want, or what style you want. And then if that's the same person posting, they're posting on time and taking care of all that stuff. Or if you have someone else doing the communication channels are all there and everything is flowing perfectly before you take on another thing. And I think I kept on taking new things. And that started to become overwhelming. So I had to kind of like scale back and like take a different perspective on these things. And also when I mix in the fact that I'm like constantly traveling,
Yeah.
and stand up is always like the main focus. It got to be a little bit too much.
So can I ask you like a personal question about your finances? Do you make more money through content creation and YouTube or more money through stand up?
Stand up is my biggest profit driver. So like
Okay.
live shows is where I make the majority of my income. Um, but the content creation, because I'm Canadian, there's actually no creator fund for Canadians.
Yeah.
So my account was made in Canada, and I've tried to. Yeah, you know this. You're Canadian.
Yeah. I'm from BC.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we're from the same province. So there's no creator fund. So I haven't made any money off of TikTok besides some like TikTok live money. But like as in terms of like getting paid for views, nothing. Instagram won't monetize me because my content's too risque. Same thing with Facebook. So like I use all these platforms just as ticket drivers. Like all the content I create is to keep growing a platform and keep driving ticket sales, which at the end of the day, that was the point. The point was to
Yeah.
get more people to come out to the shows, because I love content creation and I like making these things, but the number one goal and the thing that drives me more than anything else is doing stand up.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I actually didn't know that you can't monetize your YouTube because your content's too risque.
So YouTube, we haven't hit that problem. My YouTube is so small right
Oh,
now. It's
sorry, I
like
thought that's what you said.
we're still trying to. No, Facebook and Instagram. Those are the ones I haven't been able to monetize.
Oh,
YouTube, we just haven't hit the opportunity yet. Like those platforms are so small for me. Or
right,
I say platforms as in I just have two channels. That platform is so small for me that we need to get that moment where it cracks. Which it's like we're
right.
still working on it,
Yeah,
and it'll happen when it happens. I'm not too pressed about
you'll
it.
get there. You'll get there. I
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
so I scrolled down today to the very bottom of your channel on TikTok just because I wanted to see
Mm.
like how you started. And the
Yeah,
very the very first post that you ever had was the shit report. Do you
shit report.
remember
Yeah,
making
yeah, the
these?
shit report. Yeah, yeah. I'm with Andrew right now. Andrew, who we
Oh,
were
yes.
on the road when we were doing the shit report. He's visiting me in New York right now.
Uh-huh. So are you going to
Yeah.
update the shit report now?
Yeah, see, there's Andrew's the shit report. Maybe we'll do an updated
Yeah.
shit report. Who knows? Um, but yeah, that was like I had got the platform and I was like, you kind of got to crank out content for this platform. Like I don't really know what to do, and
Yeah.
wasn't really consuming it, and I wasn't taking it seriously or anything. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until it was actually I was on the road with Andrew, I saw the amount of views that he was getting on his content. We were like doing a weekend in Kingston, Ontario, or something like that, and the room sat like 150 people. But the views Andrew was getting, he's getting like a few thousand views on a video. And so I was like, well, I got to do this room several times. I got to do this room like 10, 15, 20 times in order to get the same amount of reach that you can get off a video that you can make relatively fast in
Yeah.
terms of like how long it takes to fill a room in comparison to that. So I was like, okay, well, I should start to, even if I'm on the low end of what people are getting view wise, I'm still reaching way more people than I am currently. So I just
Right.
started creating content, cranking out, watching a ton of content, seeing what the people on the platform want, seeing what the platform consume, and then just really tried to dive in as much as possible.
Okay, so like what you just said there, I have got to point that out, and I love that because I think I kind of found that a little bit later on. But I know that when people get onto TikTok or they get into content creation, lots of times you get in and you really can take it personally when people don't like your content. But when you
Mhm.
start getting more into it, you really start to kind of see it more as an experiment where you're like, okay, this is working, this isn't working, let me try something else. And to that
Yeah.
effect, I had to go back because in my mind, you've had this one outro in all of your videos, the follow me, you fucking idiots. And like you get really close to your mouth and it's just something that you're really well known for. And I was like, I got to see when he actually started this. And do you remember?
I remember when I first really started to take content seriously, I
Yeah.
started to try and do a call to action at the end of every video. So when I was taking it seriously, I would spend about an hour making content every day, but I
Yeah.
would spend that same amount of time studying the platform. So like watching YouTube videos that are like, how many times should you post? What is the new TikTok algorithm? Like those kind of clickbaity titles you see on YouTube. I was consuming that every day. And across the board, kind of what I saw was that the biggest mistake that people are making on TikTok is no call to action at the end of their videos. When you watch YouTube, it's like and subscribe. Like you see that in every single video, but no one does that on TikTok. So I started to play around with different call to actions. I think I was saying like follow for more content no one gives a fuck about. That was one that I was doing, and then I stopped doing a call to action, and I was doing follow me, you fucking idiots, and then I switched to something else. And then I can't remember how I just started doing it consistently. I think I just kept it in and was like, it's simple, it's easy, it's to the point, it's what I want to do, it's a call to action. It turned into like a catchphrase. But it was just a reaction to knowing the nuts and bolts of how you should make content. Like it wasn't trying to make the content more sexy. Like what I look at content is like there's a sexy side and a non-sexy side, and the sexy side is like writing the jokes, coming up with the ideas, like the funny entertaining side of it, and then the non-sexy side is like hashtags, posting time, call to action, these things that like make your content work better with the algorithm.
So I got to ask you, how much of your success would you attribute to that call to action that you've come up with?
Oh, it's definitely a huge part of it. It's like being consistent on that. But it's like one element of the entire thing. Like a big part of the success was just studying the platform. A big part of the success was being consistent. Like I posted 6 times a day for like a year. Like I just was on it.
It took me forever to get to the bottom of your feed, like to the bottom of your channel.
Yeah, like
I was just like
there's
going
a
like
lot
this
of
for
videos
10
on
minutes.
there.
Yeah,
I post less now, but at the start, I was like posting like crazy because that's what I was told to do if you wanted to grow your account, and it was working. It was like that, and then I worked for a YouTube channel before, and that taught me how to like react on camera. I did like improv acting classes took like 8 of those because I wanted to audition better, because commercials were like a big part of my income when I was just doing stand up. And so like it's all these elements of like focusing on comedy first. Like I only started making content because I wanted more people to come to shows. Took the improv acting classes because it let me pay to do more stand-up. I was working for the YouTube channel because I know it would give me a baseline following to then get more people to come out the show so I can do more stand-up. All of the like having the central point, the North Star always be like stand-up, that has been probably the best part of success, is like knowing where I'm going.
And you've really worked your way from the bottom, because I came across a video where you said you were homeless when you moved to Toronto.
Yeah. When I moved to Toronto, so like before that, I was living in Mexico. So I moved there when I was like 19. I was a scuba diving instructor, and I was just like kind of living and drinking and partying, and it was a lot of fun. And then I started doing stand up my last after like a year and a half or 2 years into living in Mexico, I did stand up, and then I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I wanted to move to Toronto to do it because that's like the best place in Canada to do it. And I couldn't go to the States and have a green card or anything. So I sold all my diving gear so I could get a plane ticket to move to Toronto, because I had nothing. I had like absolutely I had like no money. I started working for a call center. The call center folded. They didn't redo my work visa, so I had no work visa, so I can get to work anywhere. So I was like doing this job where like selling tours on the street in Mexico. And then there was this dude. Yeah, dude, it was like falling apart.
You were that guy, like when you go to Cancun and you're standing on the side of like the strip.
Yeah.
That was
exactly. Yeah,
okay.
I was doing that because it was like the only thing I could do for work at the time.
Okay.
And then I tried to like renew my visa on my own, but it's like trying to do stuff on your own there without a lawyer. There's so much bullshit they put you through. They're like, I would bring in stuff and they're like, oh, you need a signature on this. And then I go get the signature and come back and they'd be like, oh, you need a signature on this one too. And I'd be like, okay, what else do I need? And they're like, oh, just that signature. And you do that and bring it back. And they're like, oh, you need this paper as well. Like I went through so much bullshit in immigration. Then eventually I just got a notice that was like, oh, you have 20 days to leave the country, like a deportation notice. Like I didn't get kicked out. They weren't like, you can't come back to Mexico. But it was like, okay, well, you've overstayed your visa, so you got to go. And I was like, okay. Or not visa. Yeah, my work visa. But there's this guy who I worked with who was like kind of a mentor to me. He was big into like health and fitness and all this kind of stuff. And he saw that I would stay late this is when I was still working at the call center. I would work at the call center and watch these stand-up videos. I'd watch all these comics. And he was like, oh, you should go. Like, he's like, I spent the night like watching comedy and you should go chase this. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll do it for like 3 years. If it all comes together, like I'll figure it out. And he was like, no, you either are or not a comedian. These guys aren't like, they're not just doing this for fun or doing this is who they are. And I didn't understand at the time. Like, I understand it now. Like, the people you associate with, the way your brain works, the how you talk to people, comics are like a different breed. And you don't really get it unless you are a comic. We're just like, it's like, I'm not saying, oh, it's like an elite club or something. It's just like if you join a CrossFit gym and then you find a bunch of like-minded people, it's a similar thing. But yeah, he inspired me. He's like, to go. And I was like, I have nothing. And he was like, if I was you, I'd just sell all my shit and go. And I was like, I have nothing to sell. I only have a blender. And then I realized I had this dive equipment, sold all the dive equipment.
Did you sell the blender?
No, I think I just gave it away. I might have gave it to him, actually.
Damn.
I might have gave it to Dave.
Is it a Ninja?
No. But it was okay. It was a decent blender.
All right. Okay.
And then I sold all my shit. I had like $400, bought a plane ticket. By the time I got to downtown Toronto, I had like $25 left. I went to a Starbucks. I Googled Toronto homeless shelters. I found a youth shelter that was like around the corner from the Starbucks.
You literally stayed in a shelter.
Yeah. Like
Wow.
I was very lucky. I never had to sleep on the streets.
I was thinking you were going to like couch surfing. I thought for sure you'd be like staying at a friend's house.
Oh, I didn't know anyone. I knew no one in Toronto. I just went. I was like, I want to be a comic. And one of the craziest things was when I was in Mexico, there was like, I knew this one comic, his name's Trix. I knew this one comic who he was like big in Canada. And then there's this other guy who I would do shows, this comic I did shows with in Mexico. He was from Toronto. He told me about this other guy, Mark DeBonis. When I landed in Toronto, I went to a hostel first to see if I could get a bed. I didn't have enough money. And there was a comedy show in the basement of the hostel. And I ran into Trix and Mark DeBonis I was like, oh, I know you guys from someone told me, like, I know you from TV and I know you because my buddy told me you're very funny. It was a weird, very, very weird, like serendipitous moment of like, oh,
like meant to be.
The only two comics you really know. Yeah. It's strange. It was strange. But yeah, so I Googled Toronto homeless shelters, found this youth shelter, went there. But yeah, I was ready it was summertime, so I knew I could just like sleep on the streets if I really had to. And it was also Canada, and I was like broke as hell in Mexico. And I knew, I'm like, they don't let you die in Canada. Like, it's Canada. Like they'll pick you up off the streets or something. You'll be fine.
Somebody will take care of you. You're cute.
Yeah, I was like, I'll find a way.
You can bang for roof.
Whatever I would have to do, I could fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So I went to this youth shelter. When I got there, they said, we're full. We have no beds, but we can feed you. And so they gave me some food and I was sitting there eating. And then while I was sitting there, someone came who was staying there and he was wasted. And they were like, oh, they kicked him out because they have like a zero tolerance policy on like substances. Yeah. So then they're like, okay, well, we got a bed that opened up. And then so I stayed there and I was there for like 6 months and I just like stayed and then like got a security guard license so I could get a job and then started working because I didn't want to work in bars and restaurants.
Are you in like a room? Like, is it all like bunk beds in one room kind of thing with all everybody?
No. So the way it would work, it was actually, to be fair, this in terms of being homeless, this would have been the cleanest, safest, best solution that could have possibly happened. At first you would share a room with one other person, and then you could put your name down on a list. And if you're there for long enough, like people move out and go on, that you could get a solo room. They fed you 3 times a day. There was like a big like common area where they had a TV and that you could like on the weekends they would like bring out the PlayStation. It was a place for anyone under 24 who lost their home for whatever reason. I think it was it was between the ages of maybe like 16 and 24. I can't remember what the age bracket was, but it was for like some of the people there were like kids where their parents were like alcoholics and they couldn't go home and they needed a place to stay. But it wasn't like I thought I was going to have to go to a men's shelter when they're like, at first they said they don't have a bed, and that's a much rougher environment.
Yeah.
So I eventually had my own room. I was getting fed all the time. I had places to chill and like work and internet and all this stuff. And so like the things came together. And in terms of like how I felt emotionally, it was like the happiest I had been in so long. Not that I was sad before, but I was like kind of just drifting before. I didn't have a
Yeah.
purpose. I didn't really have, I was like drinking and partying and doing drugs and just kind of like spiraling. Like I was probably like an alcoholic and drug user at like a drug abuser from like 19 to 22.
Okay.
Just because that's all I knew. I only knew like drink and go scuba diving and drink with your friends, and like that's all I did. And so I finally had like a North Star, a driving purpose, and like having that felt so good. And when I stayed at the youth shelter, I told them, oh, I moved here to do comedy. So they would let me break curfew. And because the curfew was like 8 o'clock or something, they would let me break curfew to go out and do a bunch of mics. I was doing open mics all through the city while I was staying there, and like continued on after that. And I just started like grinding mics and going out at night doing comedy, and then got my security guard license. Then I stayed in this like intermediate housing place where you could come and go as you please. There was no curfew and you had your own room. I stayed there for like 2 months, saved money. And then I moved into a comedy house where it was like 3 comics and a musician. And it was like this really shitty rundown place. That place is like fucking epic in like Toronto comedy lore.
It'll build character.
Oh, dude, this house, it's like it housed comedians for like 20 years.
So it just breeds comedy.
It just breeds comedy. It was owned by this old dude named Armando. He was this old Portuguese guy, and he had like 3 properties. All of them were filled with comics. He never raised the rent. I lived at like King and Bathurst. If anyone like knows, if I had to compare it, it's like downtown New York, but for Toronto. And I paid $400 a month in rent.
Wow.
Mind you, there was 4 of us in the building, but still super fucking cheap. Yeah. And it just kept getting more and more run down. When I left, there was like raccoons in the ceiling that you could hear scratching all the time, or squirrels. I don't know, some sort of rodent-y creature. But generations of comics stayed there. Like a big comic out in LA who's from Canada also stayed there. Like I can name a bunch of dudes that no one will know the name of, but we all lived there. And then after I left, it was like 2 or 3 years after that, Armando died. Armando passed away. And after Armando passed away, his kids got control of these properties, which are like prime time real estate properties that are all run down, but still, so they sold them all. Because it's like a massive payday.
Yeah. I mean, I would have done it.
Yeah, of course. It's not like it just makes that's what anyone would have done.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, we had this old storied place, so it's like they were like, okay, they're getting evicted eventually. So they had this big party in the place that I stayed, and it was like generations of comics who had lived there all came back for this party, and it was like a wild party in this place. I remember I went there. I had my first day at this new serving job, and I went and I only brought like a Mickey of booze, and I was like, I'm going to leave by midnight because I got to be at this place for like 10 a.m. tomorrow. So like, that's all I'm going to do. I'm partying so hard that eventually we do dial a bottle, where it's like some illegal fucking call out this van and it shows up and they'll give you a bottle of booze.
No.
We do dial a bottle, get another, like a big bottle of booze. I get fucking hammered. I wake up the next morning, like in my jacket and boots, and like rush to this job and like hungover shit on my first day.
I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta like say, since I got onto TikTok, I found you pretty early on. I can't even remember exactly when, but I found you very early on in 2020, and I love your comedy. I've always like looked up to you. I feel like you are the answer to the comment that I get all the time, which is, if a man did this, he'd be canceled. I'm like, Durena. Durena. Like, you have done your style of comedy epically on TikTok, and I've found it so inspiring. And actually, so I wanted to go back to that comment about your outro that you have, the follow me, you fucking idiots, because you have done that in almost every video that you've ever put out there. And I tried it. So I didn't want to obviously like do exactly what you do. So I think I said, if you follow me, I'd really appreciate it. And then I did some stupid like kind of wink, and I can't wink very well. And that video, I had spent 2 years on Instagram at that point, and my account was at, I think, 37,000. I made that one video, and my account is now at 200,000, and it went to just about 200,000 in a week. That's
crazy.
I know. And I haven't kept up with it. I need to get better at
Oh yeah,
always
yeah,
adding that in the end. But that
yeah,
one video like tripled my account, more than tripled my account. It was
yeah.
absolutely crazy. So I just, I wanted to like point out that, you have inspired a lot of people along your way, and just hearing your story now, like going back and how much you've just kind of like jumped off the ledge and gone after it, just makes you that much more inspiring to me. But yeah, I love your content, and I wanted to say thank you for that, because I've been trying to
Oh,
learn
no
from you.
problem. Yeah. I think absolutely put the call to action at the end of every video. Just be like, it's
Yeah.
just what you do. It's like there's no like, oh, I forgot to do it. It's just you do it in every video, regardless
Yeah.
of how it performs. Because a call to action changes how it works like on a multi-level thing. Like I think it's my market's a little saturated, but I've already grown to a large number. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm fine with it being saturated. And if it hits a new community, it'll be new to them. But the like it works on a multi-level thing because telling people to follow you after video engages them to follow, which then is like a hint in the algorithm for to push the video more, which then the
Right.
video gets out to more people and more people are following. So like it's not just you're getting more followers, it's also going to make the video go more viral.
That video was my most viral video I've ever had on Instagram. It went to 10 million. And like
There
I
you
think I,
go.
I think I
There you
barely I
go.
barely ever hit a million on TikTok or on Instagram before that.
Yeah.
So to that credit, it works very well. And I will say that it's kind of scary sometimes when you're trying to, like, I'm trying to be inspired by you and do my own thing at the same time without copying you or doing that kind of thing. And sometimes you can make a video where you're not copying anybody, but I guess somebody has said something similar before, and people will, accuse you of stealing, other people's content. I made this one video, and actually it was the same video that I had used your like the outro and said, if you follow me, I'd really appreciate it. But the beginning of that video was this guy jamming his fingers in a pineapple. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that comes on, and it immediately cuts to me, and I'm like, I like that for you. And I started going into it, and apparently there's a TikTok creator. I think his name's like Super Duper Humble or something, and he kept getting tagged in my videos, and I was like, oh, okay. And then eventually there was somebody that said, looks like somebody's stealing content or something like that. Well, I'd never seen this guy's videos in my life, right?
Yeah.
And so some of these things, it's like, to say like, I like that for you, or I love that for you, that's so common. But because I guess this guy uses it frequently, then it's like he owns it, right? And it's
Yeah. I think the when anytime something like that happens is to you don't have to do like an acknowledgement where you're like, oh, I'm taking down the video, I'm so sorry, and do like an apology video. You don't have to do any of that shit. You
no, it didn't.
just you just like shift. You don't do it anymore. You're like, because you didn't know, and it's
No,
like parallel
I
thought.
just
That's what we
didn't do
call it
it.
in stand up. In stand up, there's always like if comics have like two similar jokes running at the same time, it's parallel thought. You saw something, it was the
Yeah.
first thought or the second thought. It was like it was the course of action that a human brain goes to, and it's in terms of the creative process, it's just going to happen. And the people who aren't creatives, who are the consumers, love to think that something's nefarious is going on because it makes everything more exciting, so they'll
Yeah.
start to comment and dig and blah blah blah. But you just don't, I don't know, you just don't react. That is what
No.
I think it is. I call it like it doesn't matter what it is, if people are getting offended or people are getting what, it's just like you just let it run its course and then it eventually disappears.
So I wanted to ask you about, becoming this huge stand-up comedian that you are, and like with the following that you have. What was life like when you were growing up? Were you always this like quick-witted?
I don't know. I consumed a lot of comedy as a kid. Like I'm from the age of like 12, I would say I started watching like a lot of comedy. Like Chappelle Show was like huge when I was in
Oh,
like elementary, middle school.
yeah, loved him.
So like, dude, Chappelle Show, Conan was really big, and Conan would have all these comedians on, and so like that was like kind of the I guess the start of me being interested in comedy and like consuming it and being like, yo, this form of media is definitely my favorite. And then like getting into stand up, watching it, like in my teens, like watching stand up like crazy, like watching comedy specials over and over. There was this thing in Canada called Comedy Now where they would do like
Yeah.
comedy specials for like, yeah, they were like not super famous, but like big Canadian comics or up and coming Canadian comics. And that was like that I can't even, I don't even know how many comedy nows I've watched, but yeah, I think that's where it all started for me in terms of really getting into it. And also when I was in grade 4, we had public speaking and I wrote a speech about my family and I made it funny and not even intentionally. I just was like writing little silly things about the family, and that did really well. And then I got to like tell the speech in front of the school and blah blah blah, and that was the first time I ever wrote something like comedic. But I didn't even trigger in my head that like I should do stand up or
Yeah.
I should blah blah blah. Like I was just like, because I remember the next year I was like, oh, I'm good at public speaking. That was the thought. So I tried writing a speech. I was in grade 5 writing a speech about the NRA. That's what I tried to write a speech about. It's like such a heavy
Okay.
topic. I just couldn't do it. It was so like nerve wracking to do something that serious. I like just bombed it. And then when I was in high school, there was public speaking again. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do comedic speeches again. And then I was good at it again. And like, I wrote a speech about life in high school. And then I can't remember what the other one was about, but it's like grade 11 and 12. Same thing, got to do it in front of the school. And then I got to go to like the district thing and do it in front of different schools. And then I wrote my first joke when I was like 16 or 17 maybe, and just like told it to my friends. I think it was like, the joke was eating pussy is like, oh yeah, can we like, I don't know what, swearing and like, oh, we're all good, we're good.
No, you're good.
The joke was like, eating pussy is like Buckley's. It tastes awful, but it's worth it, or something like that. That was the like first joke I ever wrote ever.
That's terrible. It's going to give us all a complex, but you know, okay.
Yeah, no. It was like, it was what, 16-year-old me. I had never performed before. It never hit an audience. I think I told it to a couple friends. And then I never pursued it from there. It wasn't until I was like 21 or so. I also just didn't have the concept of pursuing it. I didn't realize you could just go to an open mic and do stand-up. I thought you watch stand-up on TV and you would see like huge crowds in front of famous comedians. And I thought doing stand-up was like a byproduct of being famous. Like you are famous, so people come see you, so you do stand-up. Where it's the other way around.
Yeah. So, work at it forever.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was in Mexico, my brother started doing stand-up, and I was like, what do you mean you're just doing stand-up? And he's like, yeah, you just go to an open mic. So I started writing jokes with the intention of sending him these jokes. And then I was like, well, if I can write enough to do it myself, why don't I just go do it? And then I just went to go do it, and then it turned out well. But that's kind of like the trajectory of how I got into it.
Okay, so I gotta get onto the dating part of this now, because you love all women, it appears. Shape, size, race, like it, none of it seems to matter to you. What will make you run for the hills?
What'll make me run for the hills?
Yeah.
There's definitely like some red flags. Oh, the red flag recently was I went on a couple dates with this girl, and she couldn't take like a no for an answer. Like that's a big one for me, because I especially have really bad impulse control. So like I was like, hey, I'm not drinking tonight. And she was like, oh, like, okay, that's fine. And like, we're at the bar, and I like looked at her drink. Like, I want to have a drink, obviously, but I was trying not to drink. And she's like, do you want a drink? You should have a drink. And I was like, no, I'm not drinking. She's like, come on, have a drink. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll have a drink. And then I'm drinking. And then I had a flight to catch the next day. And so we're like staying out. I was like, oh, we should we got to wrap it up. And she's like, no, like one more please. Come on. Like, no. And I was like, no, come on, we got to wrap it up. Like that is like not respecting my nose, and like always like push, like instigating and like enabling my impulse control, because I want to stay out and party all night and get drunk and like do the bad thing, but I have a flight to catch in the morning and I'm trying to be responsible. So I like, that's a big one for me.
Okay, so you're a mess and you need somebody to keep you from not being a mess.
Yeah, I need it can't be two messes. That's that's
This is like, why I've got the boyfriend I have. Yeah. I need somebody that will take care of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I need an organizer on this end. Yeah, someone who's got their shit together.
It's honestly, I think you'll find some amazing content. You just got to find a girl that's like really OCD, because it's just so easy to mess with them. It's so easy to fuck with them.
To just like get under the skin. Yeah.
And for them, you're this like project. You're like this ever, you know, like they have something to do. It's great.
It can't be too much of a project. That's definitely another red flag. If they keep trying to like fix you, I'm like, hey, listen. I'm actually the best. So like, you can't really like be doing too much fixing in here. Yeah.
So what is the red flag that you always go for? What's the red flag you can't resist?
The red flag I can't resist that like always pops up. I don't know if there's one.
Like, it's
because I'm not good at seeing the flags. I'm not good at like I'll have
okay, but what's the one that
like,
you've gone for over and over again?
I don't know. Like I'm bad at it. Like I'll have friends or like my sister or someone tell me like this person is like they're like this is wrong with them, and I'll be like, are you sure? Nah, come on. Like I'm trying to think of one specifically.
I had a friend tell me he always goes for the girl that doesn't want him. You know, he's hopelessly attracted to the girl that ignores him.
I'm definitely not with that. If you ignore me long enough, I'm like,
it's too hard.
Yeah, no.
Too much
I like
work.
to be liked. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to pursue that. But I'm like, what's a bad red flag? Because I don't date a lot either.
Yeah. It's hard to date when you're everywhere.
It's hard to date when you're moving around and busy. And so like a lot of the people is like, I'm the king of the one night stand. Like I'm just sleeping with people like very, very casually.
Is the chlamydia gone?
But I'm trying to.
Did you get rid of the chlamydia? Yeah.
Can come.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it can come back at any moment. It's like, who knows? The next person could be a patient zero.
I fucking love that you're just so open about that. You said you had it 5 times, right?
6.
Well, fuck.
I've had it 6 times, yeah.
Nice. That's got to be like a record. You should check the Guinness Book of World Records and just
who's had it the most? Someone's probably beating me, I would think. Guinness? Check the Guinness.
I mean,
if I could get a Guinness World Record for the most times catching chlamydia, that would be hilarious. I would love that.
Can you win at that?
And I also don't know if I have proof. Like, I would need to go get medical records from like past places if I could, and if I was like, hey, if I got in contact with Guinness and they were like, hey, if it is 6, if you can confirm 6, we'll give you the world record. I think you should go and do the work.
I really hope you do. Like I really, if you, I want you to call them and then just because that would be the best Guinness Book of World Records record ever.
Yeah, I would have to go back and like go to like every old walk.
You can put that on your list of accolades. Like,
oh yeah, dude, Guinness World Book of Records for times caught chlamydia. That's hilarious. I would love that. That's a resume for sure.
Maybe not good for your personal life, but you know.
The thing is, most people don't care. Don't care. And also it's like what I've learned is like you factor in all the other things. Like I'm fun to be around, like kind of famous.
A little bit of chlamydia.
Financially doing good. It's like, dude, I live on my own in New York City. That's a rare find. It's like, you can, well, you want it all? You want you got to take the good with the bad, dude. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Come on.
I had it. Yeah. And you know what? Out of all of the STDs, I think it's the best one. I think it's the best one.
Fine. It's so fine.
Like take 4 pills and it's gone.
And it's gone. You don't have to deal with nothing. No.
Maybe a couple phone calls. Embarrassing phone calls. That's the hardest part.
It was like would have been way worse to catch COVID. Like, COVID, you're like have to be on a ventilator and all this stuff. Not everyone, but some people. Like the risk to like how bad COVID could get versus chlamydia. Yeah. I think even if it's untreated for a while, like maybe you can get sterile, but like I don't even want to have kids, so who cares?
Okay, so question: if you call the Guinness Book of World Records and they're like actually the record is 7 times. Will you like purposely go try to get it 2 more times?
Purposely go to get it, but it seems to find me. I've never gone out searching for it. It just I'm somehow attracted. I don't know why. I think you know what I really think it is. I think because it's increased since I've got to like it in terms of time frame of how frequently I'm catching it since I moved to New York. And there's a few factors in that. One, I'm sleeping with way more strangers since I've been in New York because now I'm on the road all the time. But I also think because the healthcare system in America is so bad, you have to pay like it's like $250 to get your dick checked if you don't have insurance, and even some insurance won't cover it. A lot of insurance won't cover it.
You don't just take like a quick little trip to Toronto?
I mean, then I'm spending basically the $250 right there.
Well, I figured you're in Toronto doing shows and stuff.
No, I haven't been back to Canada since for work since I've left, but I've gone back to like see my family and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think that's part of it, because if like $250 can break a lot of people's backs, especially if you're young and running around and full of chlamydia. You're the type of person that probably doesn't have $250 to spend. So that will lead to a bunch of people just like not getting checked, and chlamydia can be very dormant. It can just be hanging out. You have no symptoms, nothing. And then you go get checked and you're like, oh, I had chlamydia. And I fucking, last time I caught it, I can't remember if it was last time or the time before. But after I posted about it, oh, I got chlamydia. A girl who I slept with a while before that was like, yeah, after I slept with you, I got tested and I had chlamydia and I just didn't tell you. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? I was like rattled. I was like, yo, that's rude as shit. I tell every single person I banged if I had chlamydia, like, bro, you got to go get fucking the dick or the pussy checked.
Okay, so back at the beginning of 2020, when you started, you were doing I don't know if it was a podcast or like just a video with somebody, and you said that your number was like probably around 80. Did you crack the 100?
Oh, for sure. I have no clue. Like when I said the I was like probably around 80. That was like 2020, and since then I've been like some weekends are busy, you know. But for sure cracked one. I was in between 1 and 2. I don't know. I don't count.
Okay.
But there's like sometimes
send
like 5,
you
6
like a
in a
cake
weekend.
or something.
Like 100th lay.
Yeah. That's a big deal. Yeah.
I guess so. I guess it's like it's an accolade.
Yeah.
But I'm not too. Yeah. I've never counted. I've never focused on the number. Even when I said that in that video, I was like, I did like a mental count of just like going through the people I remember. Yeah. And it's actually fun to do.
Okay, I did it. I got to like 28, but I'm pretty sure it's like.
That's pretty good.
I think. Yeah. Well, I got to 28, but I think there's like 10. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's ones you forget for sure.
I don't remember. Your names.
But going through it, like if you go from when you lost your virginity through everyone you fucked, you get transported back to those moments where you're like, oh yeah, I was in this place and I went to this party and I met this person. It's like this. It's a memory bank of all these different experiences you had that like link onto other things, and you're like, wow, like I've lived a life. So. Part of me wishes I kept a log, because then I would have like flashback moments of all this shit I've done over time.
Did you ever see that chick that on TikTok, she had like recipe cards?
No.
She had recipe cards, and she had you know, went on the date, left early, fucked him, small dick.
Oh, she had like stats and like a full thing.
Yeah,
dude,
she had like stats.
Great.
I know. I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah,
that is go through it with your kids later.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun to like reminisce on your like sexual deviances. I'm like kind of slowing down a bit. Like the last few people I've banged, I've definitely been like less. I don't know, less interested isn't the right word, but like I haven't even really like mentally been there. Like I was sleeping with someone. I had like booked 2 in a day. So like I had someone who like came over at 7, and I knew another person was going to come over at like 8:30.
That's close. So, that's close.
Yeah, but realistically, it's like 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes.
And then
like,
they're just out? Just in and out. You don't even like wine and dine?
Honestly, before I was like on the road and doing all these things, always I'm like, oh, you could spend the night. Like you can maybe we'll meet up for a drink or something before. Some girls still ask for like, oh, meet me here. Like I don't want to go straight to the hotel room. And depending on whether or not I'm tired, I'm like, yes or no. But Now, it didn't start until I think it was in Hawaii, and a girl came over, and then we hooked up, and then we're laying there, and we're like talking and stuff. And she's like, "Do you want me to leave?" And I was like, "No, no, no, it's fine." And then I was like, "You can hang out for as long as you want." And we're talking more, and then she goes, "I can leave." And I'm like, "Yo, you do whatever you want." And then we hung out for a little longer, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." And so she like that was the first time where I was like, they came over, fucked, and then bounced. And then I was like, "Oh, is this kind of like the vibe? Is that what the vibe is supposed to be?" And so since then, I've kind of been like more. I'm always if there's 2 in a day, you gotta go. Like if there's one scheduled after you, then I gotta be like, hey, sorry, like I got a meeting or something, whatever bullshit thing I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say there's someone else coming to fuck because I feel like that's just rude. But if it's the last person of the day, I do still offer like, hey, you can like spend the night if you want, and I like almost nobody does, which I'm like, that's great.
What time would it would if somebody's booking with you? What time might be the last one of the day? Is it like a 9 o'clock or like 11?
Oh, bro, it depends on it depends on all the like how horny am I? How sometimes I got to tell you about this after. So like the last one could be like a 2 a.m. It would be a 2 a.m. because you do the shows. If you're doing 2 shows in a night, the last show will be like a 9:30, probably wrapped up back to the hotel by like, I want to say 11:30, 12. And like, then the first person's coming. And then you're like, okay, I'll book someone for like an hour after that, after the first person shows up. And then it's like, yeah, it can be a 2 o'clock appointment to come through.
I think that's good for people to know. For example, I need the boyfriend experience, right? Because that makes me feel good. And even if I'm leaving in the morning, never going to see you again, I need the boyfriend experience. I need like a little snuggle, a little kiss when I go. So, if you're like me, then you want the 2 a.m., I guess.
But that's what I'm saying. I've been slowing down because like I slept with someone recently where I was just kind of like, I felt like I was just going through the motions, and I was like, whatever. Like I was trying to do all the moves and everything, but my heart wasn't in it at all.
Right.
I felt like on an old racehorse or something that it's like I can't run no more. Like that's and I just didn't. I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm like just losing sleep just to bang someone to bang them, and like I don't even really. I'm not excited about it. No. So that like slowed me down. And I also had one where a girl came over first, and then we fucked, and then a girl was coming over after with her boyfriend. She's like, I want you, or her husband. She was like, I want you, my husband, to double team me. And I was like, okay, I'm game. But I had just fucked so recently that they came and I couldn't get my dick working because he was just like, bro, he's like, dude, what the fuck is going on, man? We don't have, what kind of stamina do you think you have? Like they came way too quick after the next one. I was like, man, my eyes are bigger than my dick today. And so my dick just wasn't working. So I was like eating her out. I'm playing with her pussy and doing a bunch of stuff. And she was like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know, maybe I just drank too much. I didn't drink at all, but I was like, I didn't want to tell them, I just fucking jizzed because I fucked another girl.
So you just got like parties of people.
I was like, this is definitely fun for them. And I was like, I feel bad. I said, I feel like I'm letting down my fans. Like you guys came she came to get double teamed with her husband, and I can't even fucking pull it off. Eventually, after like a little while, I did get my dick working, and I was like, okay, let's go. Actually, I got my dick working, and they were like, we got to use a condom. And I was like, and then I put the condom on, and it's like, of course you put a condom on, and your dick's like, oh my god, dude, like I'm barely getting there. So that was like, that made me be like, oh, maybe I gotta slow it down a little bit. You can't. How did these
girls get in your DMs? Like, how did this couple get in your DMs? And
just message. They just message after a show. I scroll through my inbox. I go in my inbox right after because I know it's always someone there. There's always, like, very rarely there's not a person. There's usually too many. I can't get them all in a weekend.
So stand up is your game. That's where you got your game.
I haven't like gone up to a chick and just been like, hey, like I think you're super cute. Can I buy you a drink? I haven't done that in a while. And I honestly didn't really do that a lot before. I've always been like I describe it as like if you're driving down the street, you see a sloth in the middle of the street and it's just like trying to cross the streets real slow. Some people are just going to drive past sloth, and someone's going to be like, yo, this sloth is so cute, and pick it up and put it in their car and take it home.
Okay.
And like that was like my dating strategy, was like I was just kind of there. But most of the girls I've dated long term were chicks who I like went up to and was like, yo, you're so cute. You want to hang out? Can I grab your number?
What's your longest relationship?
Only like 6 months. Like I dated a girl in high school for like a year and a half, but like that was I was like 15.
Okay.
but yeah, like 6 months. That's like the longest one I've been able to string together. I definitely like my mentality has changed over time. When I definitely had a mentality before where it's like, well, we're gonna break up anyways. Like, I was like, whether we're gonna like, I'm at the time of my last girlfriend, I think I was like 25. It's like, well, I'm 25. When I'm gonna meet the person I'm gonna stay with for the rest of my life? Nah, I got a whole life to live. Also, my parents didn't have a good relationship. They were in a crumbling marriage from like day one. I don't know about day one, but it crumbled for a long time before the building finally fell. It was condemned, let's say. But so I didn't understand what a healthy relationship was or perceive that you could build into a healthy relationship. So I was always like, well, it's going to end. So I kind of would like date someone for a bit to kind of like go through the motions and then just like wean off a few months in. Like as soon as because once you're at like 6 months, it's like the next stages of like, oh, you're gonna meet my parents, you're gonna do this, and once you hit that, I'd be like,
no.
Yeah,
no. So has anybody ever surprised you? Have you ever had a chick scare you enough that you were like, oh, I don't think I'm ready for that?
What do you mean, like dating wise or like in the bedroom?
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom, I don't think I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
See, the thing with sleeping with a bunch of people casually is you don't usually get too deep.
Right. Okay.
Like you usually are doing like a bunch of beginner stuff. Like you got fuck buddies who you'll like kind of get in with a little bit deeper, but no one's ever done anything that scares me. I've definitely done things that aren't like my favorite because I know that's their thing.
Yeah.
Like this one girl choked me like really hard. Like I was like just like she was like on my throat. Like
I don't get that. I don't get it.
I was just letting her have it because she like seemed like she was loving it, and I was like, all right, well, I don't know. It's like it was just uncomfortable, and like I'm trying to like keep an erection, and like them just like I'm like it just did nothing for me. It didn't find it to be a turn on. I've been slapped a few times during sex, and that's definitely not a turn on for me. I don't like being hit in the face.
I don't think I'd like that. Well, on the beat,
some chicks love it.
Really?
Some chicks love getting stuff. Yeah. So some people want like a back and forth of like this sort of like power struggle. Some people just want to be like straight dominated. Sure. And if someone wants to be straight dominated, they usually like to be like slapped, controlled, like spit on. One girl who I was like talking with for a while wanted me to like spit on the floor and have her lick it off the floor. Like one chick said, I want you to step on my head with your dirtiest boot. Like,
no.
Where
are you finding these girls?
Range.
Wow.
In my inbox.
In my inbox. I had somebody try that on me once where they like went like to like do the choking thing. And I was like, wait, why do you want to cut off my air supply? Like, why is this turning you on?
So many chicks love choking that it's like that's like a baseline. That's like a standard move. Like I have different ways I choke. I've choked so many girls, and there's different times. Like sometimes this is something. Now you're not a choke girl, so you won't really have the answer to this question.
Okay,
but I'll go to choke a girl, and I'll be choking her, and she'll put her hand on my wrist, and then in my head that means like stop choking.
Yeah, stop.
And so. But there's been times where I pull it away and they go like, no, like push harder. Like they're like, I want you to be more in my throat. Like, yeah. There's like,
it concerns me
really
if you're
like
getting
like,
off with that.
Like that.
Oh,
they're fucking. That's what they're. I'm a pleaser. I'm here to fucking. I like to everyone have a good time.
For you, but for this guy that's trying to do it to me, I'm like it concerns me that it turns you on to cut off my air supply like that. That feels fucked up to me.
It is fucked up, but people like fucked up things, man. People like fucked up things. Everyone's just trying to nut, dude. And like the connection between like morality and nut, the wiring isn't there at all. It's just nut. Nut takes control.
Okay.
There's no like, oh, if I'm choking you, but there's also no link. Like I think if someone is choking you and gets turned on by that during sex, I don't think there's a link to that to like, oh, I enjoy inflicting pain on people and like I'm a bad person. It's just like not it's existing in its own realm.
There's definitely all sorts for all people, and I've learned that the more that I've got on TikTok. There's a lot of things that people like, and that's okay.
Yeah. Like
Just not for me.
there's been a lot of girls who've asked me about like they like the politically correct term is consensual non-consent. They love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that
I
doesn't mean that they're interested in that outside of someone they feel comfortable with. It just
no.
exists in nut. They just like it for like the fantasy and whatever it
It's
is.
like a
But
50
yeah,
Shades
yeah,
of Grey thing. It's a 50 Shades of Grey
yeah,
thing. It's yeah, I honestly I get that. I get that. I think that might be very common amongst a lot of women.
yeah.
Anyway,
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
I
the
mean,
control thing. Like
not
I think
me,
some
but
chicks like being in control. Like
yeah.
it's and some like I hooked up with someone recently and it was much more like I don't know, sensual, a lot of touching, kissing, like, and I was like, oh, I haven't fucked like this in a long time. Whoa. Like I think I went to choke her and she's like, no, 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 hold me. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like I can
Aw,
I was like I literally was like, I can't remember the last time I fucked someone like this. I'm always like spitting in someone's mouth.
that okay. What embarrasses you? Does anything embarrass you as a comedian?
Ooh, what embarrasses me? Um Weirdly, I get like secondhand embarrassment from seeing live music. Like when I see a dude just playing a guitar, like just out, I'm like, bro, there's people watching. Like, what are you doing? Like, I guess I think it's like too vulnerable or something.
Yeah.
I think like I go on stage and I'm like funny. I'm like, all none of this matters. It's all a joke. We're all being dumb. Seeing someone go on stage in front of people and be like so sincere, like I get cringy. Like, oh, what do you mean? You really feel? Get the fuck out of here. Maybe feelings make me embarrassed.
I
That's what
think
it
that's
is.
like it's either going to be my nightmare or like my dream. It's going to be one or the other. If they're awful, it's going to be so bad because then you got to listen to it and then like pretend that it's good.
Yes.
But if you pretend that it's too good, then they might sing again, right? And
But also, if it's good, everyone just sits there and watches and just like at least comedy, you're laughing and you're in it. Like I'm paying attention. Music, it's like I'm just listening and sitting. It sucks, bro. Live music is like I know I'm crazy for saying this. No one agrees with me on this. If it's like a show where it's like electronic music or like I've never been to like metal, but like where there's a mosh and everything, you can interact in a way.
yeah,
If it's just a dude like singing with a guitar and you're just sitting and listening to what he has to say, ugh,
yeah,
fucking
no.
the worst. I hate it.
Well, did you not have that same kind
Yeah.
of fear going up as a comedian though? Getting up on
No,
stage?
no, no, no.
Really?
No, because comedy is it's a different interaction, and it's not sincere at all. It's like it's jokes, it's funny. It's like but you're getting a response from the audience. There's no response when you're just like watching a dude like sing a song about his breakup. You're just watching, and you just sit there in silence, and then everyone claps. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. Where's your next tour coming up? And where's the best place for people to find tickets?
Hey, if you want tickets, you go to Durena.com. I'm in Oklahoma next in July. Then I'm going to be in Detroit, not Detroit, outside Detroit. I'm going to be in Michigan in August. I'm also going to be, I think we're like putting together the dates right now.
Okay.
I'm going to be in Indiana in September. I'm also going to be in Austin in September, and then I'm going to be in the Midwest, like Wisconsin, in November. But we still have more stuff coming, so
Okay.
all that stuff's going to kind of get filled out where the next few months is going to be. But yeah, no, I had a great time. If anyone wants to catch me on anything, it's Che Durena on all platforms, and Little Dinky News for streaming on Twitch and YouTube and Kick.
Excellent. And to get tickets, they would go to chedurena.com?
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, Che.
Awesome, Elle. Thank you for having me.
I think I will, for the next hour, be ripping myself apart because, you know, when you're faced with somebody that you look up to that much, you're always thinking, oh, God, I sound like an idiot. But you know what? It's such an amazing experience to be able to sit down with somebody that I am truly inspired by. What an amazing story. You can see that he just like puts everything that he's got into his work, which I find incredible. So make sure if you're wanting to go and get tickets, you go to chedurena.com. Make sure you download and subscribe your episodes. That really helps. And I'll see you next time.